Okay, let's get going. Dharma is not emotional lobotomy. I actually got that phrase from a dream a few weeks ago. Hi, I'm Janise, a dream path. Sort of like an empath, but dreamier. Okay, let's look at some dreams together, and you can compare what you see in these dreams to your own dreams and recalibrate your journey if necessary. I've been working with dreams since I was a child. What I do on this channel is I work with thousands of dreams that I've collected over time, both from myself and from people who have shared them with me. And I compare them to look for patterns that show up time and time again. My goal is simple. I just want to help you understand what your dreams are actually communicating so you can use them as practical information for healing, growth, and your human and spiritual journeys. If this kind of work resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. In today's video, I wanted to see if fake friends would show up in your dreams. And guess what they did? Have you heard of Machiavellianism? Machiavellianism? I don't even know if I said that right, but what I do know is that it's part of the Dark Triad of personalities. And I already covered a video about narcissist. Now I'm covering this one about Machiavellianism. If you've had any of these indicators in your dream, listen on. Toilet scenes, wet clothes, middle school jealousy, skateboards, a sour robot, and they pronouns. I know it's a weird combination, but trust me. These dreams show the degree of Dharma for which the dreamer has achieved, and they also show if a person that the dreamer is interacting with is actually acting in their best Dharma, or are they a fake friend? Do they have one of those attributes of the Dark Triad? So, are you open to self reflection? Well, then let's get to work. When I'm looking for Machiavellianism in dreams, or really in any dream, I start by asking, where is the Dharma? Where is the flow? And whenever the flow breaks, that's the red flag. That's the place to look. Pay attention to who shows up in the dream and at what point. Sometimes it is showing your own pattern, and that's useful, but very often dreams are incredibly literal. They're showing you exactly the energetic tone of someone in your waking life. For the sake of using dreams to identify potential toxic relationships or fake friends or anyone who might fall into that dark triad, it often shows up as people acting like your friend, being pleasant, being nice, but in a strategic way. Kindness that's calculated, warmth that doesn't actually include you, sourness disguised as sweetness, and emotionally robotic behavior. And dreams also show you the contrast at the same time. Dharma shows up as authenticity and genuineness, celebrating others' successes without shrinking yourself, and being considerate to how other people feel while still being able to act on how you feel. That's the difference. In the Dark Triad patterns, consideration of others is something that is treated as a way to lose power. In Dharma, consideration and self-honesty coexist. Dharma is a gentle but powerful way to show up in life. It's being in the flow without sharp reactions, following your heart, loving yourself. Those are all very Dharmic indicators. People think Dharma is about never upsetting anyone else, or just doing whatever you want without considering other people. Neither is Dharmic. Dharma isn't being a doormat or silencing your needs to make sure others aren't uncomfortable. That's karma. Self-erasure is not kind. Dharma is also not acting on selfish impulse, as in, I'll just do whatever I want because that's my truth. Cutting off empathy or consideration, that becomes karmic harm. And finally, Dharma is not emotional lobotomy. What do I mean by that? Well, that's just what I feel, and I don't need to say anything to you. If setting your boundaries includes minimal attunement or compassionate communication, That's karma. Dharma moves from the heart while everyone else is also in consideration. I'm not saying you change for others. I'm not saying that you need to suffer just because someone else doesn't want what you want. And I'm certainly not saying don't follow your heart. But people, it is okay to be considerate of other people's feelings. For goodness sake, other people are important, they are relevant, and it's compassionate to consider how you communicate with them. Consideration is dharmic. So this first dream is about a skateboard. In this dream, a female skateboarder arrives thinking she's in the flow. She reminds the dreamer of someone that he's been trying to communicate with, but she's been ignoring him. So let's look for where's the flow. Well, the skateboard is rolling forward. That has potential. Skateboarders do cool tricks. They need balance. They appear smooth. That looks dharmic. But consider this. The smooth flow of a skateboard only works when the skateboarder is in their element, a safe container of flat ground. A skateboard dramatically reacts to what's on the ground. And also, a skateboard is an isolated vehicle. You're not interacting with others, so it can show that you've cut yourself off from others to avoid what you fear they might bring to you or confront you with. So a skateboard can be a karmic vehicle in a dream. In this dream, the skateboarder loudly complains about an obstacle instead of moving it herself or adjusting herself. And then there's a narrator that calls the obstacle a lemon bot. So this dream is saying something very specific. The dreamer is interacting with someone in waking life who is in their denial about their own degree of dharma, and they are probably a fake friend. Someone disguising their own sourness, appearing spiritual, but actually being emotionally robotic underneath. And that's often how Machiavellianism shows up in dreams. This next dream is called the Power Center Reminder. The dreamer is confronted with someone who is trying to force them to make a decision that isn't in consideration of their partner. And a voice over the loudspeaker says, go to your solar plexus center of power to respond to this energy. So Dharma is grounded power. We don't retreat in silence, and at the same time, we don't get aggressive. We can say no or yes while still considering others. That's dharmic power. In another dream, there's a blonde child, and the dreamer refers to this child as she. But then there's a kind woman behind, and she refers to the child as they. And it turns out that the child preferred that pronoun. So the dreamer adjusts herself immediately with affection and consideration. That moment in the dream equals true dharma: attunement, inclusion, and care and consideration. Next, this dream digs into middle school jealousy. Dreams don't sugarcoat. They always ask us, where are we? Are we out of flow? Do we need to adjust? In this dream, the dreamer is giving a spiritual webinar. She invited everyone, but she's not sure if a woman from middle school is going to attend. But then in she walks, Daria. This person represents the dreamer's middle school jealousy archetype. Competitive, dismissive, real mean girl vibes. And also present is Alma. She's curious, engaged, warm, and very reflective of the dreamer herself. And during the webinar, Alma is asking a lot of questions, very engaged. But Daria is a bump on a log. After the class, while everybody is celebrating the success of the webinar and celebrating the dreamer, Daria turns and walks away. But the dreamer calls out to both women and says, "Hey, I'm glad you came." Daria doesn't respond. She just keeps walking. And that's okay. The dreamer starts hugging all of the others who stuck around. That's big because the dreamer stays kind without being triggered by competitive jealousy wrapped in a spiritual exterior. Dharma stays open even when kindness isn't reciprocated. And Dharma doesn't chase validation either. In another dream, a dreamer is packing a rounded duffel bag. She puts in a wet shirt and some wet jeans. The shirt reminded her of a friend's shirt, and this friend is authentic, truthful, and considerate. You can look at the jeans as in being about genuineness, your natural self. And at first, she worries that these wet clothes are going to get everything moldy. But then she realized, no, it's fine. Letting everything be wet is about letting yourself be free to just simply feel. And knowing they won't get moldy is trusting that you don't need to mold or shape your emotions to satisfy anyone else. That's emotional sovereignty. That's Dharma. And finally, there's the toilet dream. There are toilets out in the open, and the dreamer just sits down to start doing her business. And another person who, in waking life, the dreamer really resonates with her, finds her to be kind and authentic, sits down nearby and says, "Hey, I'm going to use this toilet next to you. Is that okay?" And the dreamer says, "Yeah, no problem," and begins reading a book, and they both just go about their business. Open, natural, no shame, no drama. That's Dharma. Communication that's matter of fact, but also considerate. So, quick recap. What is Dharma and what is karma? In this case, I'm saying karma is like subscribing to the Dark Triad type of personality. Karma is distortion. Dharma is heartfelt action. Adjust yourself for me. Versus, I honor what I need while honoring your humanity. Loud accusations versus grounded presence. Jealousy and competitiveness versus collaboration and curiosity. Disguised sourness versus transparent truth. Cutting out emotions to avoid discomfort versus speaking with emotion in an attuned way. Dharma is holding your center and holding others in the field of compassion. These dreams reminded me that being on a dharmic journey means continually working towards balance, dissolving judgment, and moving towards neutrality. But neutrality is not robotic. You become more alive, more attuned, more considerate, more compassionate, and ultimately sovereign. You can still feel hurt and still be dharmic. You can still consider other people's feelings and still act from your truth. If any of these scenes resonate with you, ask yourself, where are you silencing yourself to seem more spiritual? Where might you be bypassing self-reflection? And where might you be cutting off empathy for fear of losing power? If there's a dream theme that you want me to talk about, I'm sure I've seen it, so put it in the comments and I'll make a video about it. If you feel called to go deeper into dream work with me, I also work with people one-on-one through a dream coaching container called the Dharmic Six-Pack, where we work with your dreams over time with specific seeding in order to support real integration and healing. You can find that at gentlehealingdreams.com/coach. And with that, thanks for dreaming with me.